What's up, guys? In this video, we're going to take a quick look at Algorand. Algo, baby. Listen, Algorand has been just absolutely butchered in this bear market. Yes, I understand your pain right now. Algorand has literally went from around $3, close to $3, all the way back down to where it's at currently at 32 cents. But in this video, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of hopium, okay? As always, do not take any of this as financial or investment advice. Invest at your own risk. I'm not a financial advisor, but I have covered Algorand for a long time, guys. Just to point one thing out, we did manage to call a bunch of Algorand targets very early on and very good calls in the previous bull cycle. Okay, we called a lot of bullish targets. You can see the first one right here that we got very nicely here. This was in September of 2021 when we hit this target of around 245. We actually went a little bit higher than that, around 250, but that measured move of this pattern on that breakout absolutely played out perfectly. So stick around, because in this video, I'm going to give you guys another somewhat longer term price prediction for Algorand and see where Algo can possibly go here once it gets through consolidating down into the tip of this wedge. You guys know on the channel, I love my falling wedge patterns and I love analyzing these types of patterns. The price predictions from these typically play out. So we are going to talk about this on the weekly time frame for Algorand, and we're also going to drop it on down and take a quick look at the 4-hour and the shorter term time frames to kind of get an idea of what exactly is going on down here in the tip of this wedge. So like I said, stick around for the whole video so that you don't miss anything. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We love crypto. You're in the right place if you do too. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So like I said, before we jump into the longer term time frames on the weekly time frame for Algorand, I would like to just drop it on down. We're going to start with the 4-hour, take a look at what's going on in the 4-hour, just to get an idea of what's possibly what we could possibly expect coming up in the shorter term, right? So on the 4-hour time frame, it does look like we're just sort of kind of consolidating sideways here, and you can see that we did break some pretty decent support right up there at about the 37-cent range. Let's just quickly take a look at that. So yeah, we broke some very decent support. Algorand did break some very nice support right here. We have not actually came back up to test it yet. And if you look on the 4-hour, our 200 EMA is coming right down here. So if we were to come on up and test that previous support for resistance at around the 38 cent mark, that would also get us a nice little test of the 200 moving average here on the 4-hour time frame. So that would make perfect sense. However, one thing I'd like to point out on the 4-hour, just to point out here in the immediate time frames, we are holding above the 50 EMA on the 4-hour, but we are slightly below and getting rejected here by the LSMA in blue. You can see that once you're above it, I talk about this all the time, it carries you up. But once you're below it, it pushes you down. Okay, so right now we are below it. So in that case, also we're testing the EMA ribbon here. That would indicate to me a possibility of Algorand coming on back down, possibly just to retest your support here at around 28 cents. But a little pullback is likely unless Algorand can get above the LSMA here in blue. So on the 4-hour time frame, looking like possibility of a pullback unless we can get above and break above some of this. If we get above the EMA ribbon here, then I would expect a run up to test around the 36 cent price to test the 200 EMA on the 4-hour. Now, of course, keep in mind that Algorand could also pull back down after coming up and testing the ribbon here like it did right here. We could actually pull all the way back down and retest this downtrend support level, which is also lining up with some previous resistance levels and support from the past here at around the 20 cent price. So that would make sense also. So keep that in mind and keep these price targets in mind for Algorand here in the shorter term time frame, because I am about to give you a much longer term price prediction for Algorand. Now, like I said, we're consolidating into a tip of a wedge, and typically what we see happen with that is once it consolidates all it can down into the tip, once it bounces all it can in between support and resistance, it squeezes in there and we get a nice breakout. Typically, a falling wedge pattern will break out to the upside. So looking at this on the longer term time frames, when we throw it to the weekly, this is what I want to focus on here, because this is pretty significant when looking at the weekly time frame for Algorand. This wedge is something that we see all the time in these patterns, in these charts, for different altcoins. And lots of altcoins right now looking very similar to Algorand in their charts. And what we're going to see possibly happen here, like I said, we could pull on back down just a little bit more down to 20 cents. But once we do this, and we may not even need to do that, we could pull up and break out here. But once we do this, I expect a major breakout for Algorand and many other altcoins that are also looking like this. One to point out that recently broke out pretty decently was Synthetics. It actually didn't break its wedge, but as it's consolidating into that wedge, we're getting some pumps as people are looking into these coins that are consolidating very nicely down into the tips of these wedges. They're looking at getting into these coins because they do know that a breakout is to be expected once you consolidate in between your support and resistance and squeeze into a breakout. And that's exactly what Algorand, in my opinion, is doing here. So we could expect a decent target from this. And simply what we do is measure the width of our pattern here on the weekly time frame, and we're going to drag this on out. Now, once I put this in, I will tell you the target, the price prediction for Algorand here. Keep in mind it's on the weekly time frame, so it's going to be a little bit longer term target. But I'm also going to give you guys an idea of where the resistance levels are going to be on the way up into this target. So if we were to break out within the next week, we're looking at a target of around $1.50. Perfect. Makes perfect sense. There's multiple areas of support and resistance here at $1.50. $1.50 has been a critical price point for Algorand all along. You can see back here, major resistance, turn support right here, turned back to resistance right here, and a breakout to pull back up and retest that previous area of resistance seems very likely here as Algorand is still consolidating and squeezing in to this wedge pattern. Now, resistance levels to look at on the way up. So I already have one put in here at $1.25, but also I would like to point out the EMA ribbon and the 50-week moving average coming down on you right here, and that's at about 75 cents. So we're looking at around 75 to 85 cents also being resistance. You can see also at 75 cents, you do have some previous candle closes there on the weekly, and previous support back here is also at around the 78 to 80 cent price range. And resistance here close to around 90 cents and $1. So we're looking at that EMA ribbon as most likely 50-week moving average definitely being resistance on the way up. So look for some shorter term pullbacks along the way up for this target of $1.50. But I do believe that $1.50 is a very good target for this breakout for Algorand. Let me know in the comment section if you're an Algorand holder. What do you think about this? Do you agree with this analysis? Do you think that Algorand is consolidating into a breakout here? Or do you believe that we'll just continue to go sideways without any major upwards momentum in the price? Let us know what you think in the comment section. And of course, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and smash that like button on the way out if you enjoyed this update on Algorand so more Algo holders can get this video in their YouTube feed. So hope you guys have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon.